I know that my ability to concentrate had significantly diminished, but I didn't think it really mattered. I tailgated a blue Chevrolet at the intersection. My mind was in turmoil, and I was driving more out of habit than anything else. The light turned green, and I followed the Chevrolet through the intersection. Well, at least I started to follow it. I remember seeing something out of the corner of my left eye. Then came dreams, nightmares, hallucinations, pain and suffering became my constant companions. I remember seeing my family. I remember people talking to me. Strangely, I understood every word, but together, the words made no sense. They were just words and nothing more. Everything blended together, as if I were jumping from one dream or nightmare to another. I never felt awake or fully conscious. Eventually, some part of me realized that none of it was real, that my world at that moment existed only in my mind. That didn't stop the pain or the nightmares, but it did ease the suffering. I opened my eyes. Everything was different now. I could see walls and a ceiling. I could hear a voice, and the words made sense when I listened. I began mentally scanning my body. I could move my toes. That was good. Then I tried to feel my fingers, and to my relief, it worked. The pain was dull and constant, but compared to what I had felt before, I was able to push it out of my mind. I tried to turn my head, and it almost exploded from the effort. I must have groaned. "Mr. Hadley. You're awake," a pretty young woman nearly shouted, leaning in close and smiling at me. "I'll get the doctor. Just rest, I'll be right back." I think I fell asleep again. The next thing I remember was a man, younger than me, looking into my eyes and feeling around my head. "Welcome back, Mr. Hadley. It's been quite a while, but you're okay now. You were in a car accident, you were struck, and you were gone from us for a while, but now, it looks like you're out of the woods. I know you have a lot of questions, but for now, you need sleep and recovery. We've given you something to help manage the pain and help you rest, but don't worry. You'll see your family very soon." I closed my eyes for a second, and when I opened them again, I realized I must have been asleep for several hours. Jim and Tiffany were standing beside the bed to my left, smiling as I looked around. "Oh, Dad!" Tiff exclaimed. "We were so worried about you. I knew you were tough and would pull through. I love you so much, Dad." "Yeah, Dad, you're too stubborn to just die." Jim laughed. "You've got years ahead of you. You probably have Mom to thank for that." I tried to respond, but my mouth felt as if someone had filled it with sand. I couldn't part my lips. I couldn't form any words, so I just tried to smile, and even that hurt a little. "That's right, Dad. Mom gave you a gift you'll always carry with you. She gave you one of her kidneys, Dad. I guess from now on, you two are like Siamese twins, joined at the hip," Tiffany laughed. "Come on, look the other way. Mom's over there." I managed to turn my head and saw the bed next to mine. It took a minute or two for my eyes to focus. Finally, I could make out Gwen, sitting up in bed, smiling at me, tears streaming down her cheeks. Was this real, or just another nightmare? What were they saying about a kidney? Why would I need one? Why would Gwen give me hers? It was too much information to process. I closed my eyes again. I slept through most of the next few days. Whenever I had a moment of clarity, the nurses, doctors, and my children explained how I ended up in the condition I was in. Gradually, I learned to tell the difference between reality and dreams. I don't know what they were giving me, but it was some serious stuff. A guy trying to outrun the cops slammed into my car on the driver's side. Just to avoid a ticket for going 60 in a 40 km/h zone, that guy came within inches of taking my life. The police estimated that he was actually going around 80 km/h when he hit me. I couldn't shake the thought that the exact speed didn't matter to me. What mattered were the consequences. The kid wasn't hurt, and his old man bailed him out. That little bastard is probably going to be having sex at his graduation party this weekend. I played football in high school and think I was a pretty good wide receiver. I was fast and could catch anything I could get my hands on. I went to the University of Pennsylvania and tried out for the team. I didn't have a scholarship. That should give you an idea of how the coaches evaluated my talent. All the guys were doing their best to show the coaching staff their skills and determination. The first time we had full contact practice, I made my sharp cut and saw the ball coming my way. It was about to sail a meter over my head, so I jumped and caught it with my right hand. The moment I caught it, I knew the coaches had to be impressed. What I didn't expect was the speed and power of the guys trying to make it onto defense. Before I could pull the ball down and tuck it in, a 100-kilogram linebacker hit me. He was going full speed when he lowered his shoulder and drove it into my right side. I wrapped around him like a pretzel as he bulldozed me across the synthetic turf of the practice field. I woke up in the hospital. I was urinating blood for a week, and the doctors seemed seriously concerned during the first few days. By the end of the week, they finally let me go. The only problem was that my right kidney had been seriously damaged. I was warned to always be careful and take good care of my left one. I wouldn't have had any issues with kidney function, so long as I never did anything stupid, like playing football or getting turned into a cutlet in the driver's seat. That's when things got interesting. As it turned out, I hadn't been injured as badly in the accident as one might have expected, except that my left kidney had taken a major hit. Naturally, it was decided that if a donor could be found quickly, a transplant would be the best option. Gwen was tested, though the odds of her being a match weren't great. And yes, you guessed it. While I was drifting through dreams and nightmares, the decision was made that I would receive a kidney from Gwen. They told me I had been informed of the decision and had even agreed to it. I didn't see much point in arguing, but I couldn't remember any of it, and I certainly didn't recall agreeing to anything. Gwen felt better much sooner than I did, but that was to be expected. After all, she hadn't just had a foreign organ implanted. I was the one they needed to monitor closely, making sure the organ wouldn't be rejected. Once she regained her strength, Gwen was constantly by my side. She read the newspaper to me, wiped my forehead, and even helped me get to the bathroom. It was a difficult time, but eventually, I was released to go home. I stayed home for another 6 weeks or so before I was able to return to work. During all that time, Gwen was attentive and understanding. She did her best to stay cheerful and upbeat. The kids went back to college, but they came home nearly every weekend to visit and help their mother take care of me. Gwen made a full recovery in a very short period of time, or at least, that's how it seemed to me. Within a couple of weeks, she was back at work, and I was left home alone for an entire month. Gradually, I regained my strength, and by the second week after Gwen had returned to work, I was able to walk around the block. That felt like a major milestone in my recovery. By the time I returned to work, I was getting around pretty well. The doctors told me it would take months before I'd be back to 100%, but that day would come. When I returned to work, they gave me light duties for a couple of weeks. Eventually, I complained to my supervisor that I needed to get back to my regular responsibilities. I worked for the phone company. I was one of those guys who checks lines and poles from the buckets on lift trucks. I was good at it, and I enjoyed it. The following week, I got back to doing what I loved, and I started feeling better. I was a little nervous behind the wheel for a few months, and I still look both ways at every intersection. I knew how lucky I was to have been in a company truck when that guy hit me with his dad's SUV. If I had been in a regular car, it would have been over. 6 months after the accident, almost everything was back to normal, except for one major thing. Gwen and I hadn't made love. It wasn't that she didn't want to. She did. In fact, at times she was even a bit pushy, but I just couldn't. I was dealing with serious issues. On the day of the accident, I had been working on a line that ran along the highway. I was focused on the mess caused by a backhoe tearing through the cable. They gave me the job because I'd done it before, and they knew I could do it again. I happened to glance at the roof of a dump truck parked nearby. Just beyond it was a motel that served drivers along Highway 80. I noticed a car that looked a lot like Gwen's pull in, only about 40 meters from where I was sitting. Funny thing is, we seem invisible when we're working in those buckets. Another car pulled in, and the driver got out. It was Ben Poole, Gwen's coworker. As he walked around the front of his Explorer, a woman stepped out of the neighboring car and met him with a slow, heated kiss. And that woman wasn't just any woman, it was my wife. In stunned silence, I watched as they walked hand in hand toward room 108. Ben slid the key into the lock, and they went inside. Just before Gwen managed to pull the curtain shut, I saw Ben groping her breast through her clothes. I felt sick as I processed what I'd just seen. Gwen had never been a sexually driven woman. She was attractive and always dressed well, but if I didn't initiate sex, it simply didn't happen. And even when I did, it wasn't unusual for nothing to come of it. I had accepted the fact that her sex drive wasn't very high. She was a wonderful mother and a great wife in every other way. At least, that's what I had believed. The fact that Ben was screwing her senseless forced me to reevaluate her reputation as a faithful wife. And that wasn't something I was prepared to accept. I didn't feel that storming into the motel and demanding some kind of justice on the spot would solve anything. It was already too late to not be a cuckold. And I didn't believe this was their first time together, they were far too comfortable with each other for that. Unfortunately, as I thought through the situation, it gradually became clear that there was only one way out, short of killing them both. At the time, I didn't feel the urge for revenge. I was just a man in pain. I wanted to crawl away and lick my wounds in some cave somewhere. Hurting Gwen didn't even cross my mind. At the same time, I knew our marriage was over. I wasn't the most handsome guy in the world, and plenty of men made more money or were more physically impressive. If any of that, or all of it, mattered to Gwen, then she should have found a different husband 23 years ago. I wasn't a superstar, but I had some pride and self-respect. And if I didn't get Gwen out of my life, I'd lose both. I had to acknowledge the irony of the moment. If I lost Gwen, I would be left with almost nothing of importance in my life. But if I kept living as a cuckold, I'd have even less than nothing. That truly was ironic. And then that pathetic, pimple-faced idiot decided to run from the police. I was only still walking this planet because Gwen had given me her kidney. That ruined all my resolve. After the accident, I could hardly think about anything else. I was no closer to making a decision than I had been when I first learned Gwen had donated her kidney to me. I never agreed to that. It wasn't fair. It would have been so much easier if they had just let me die. Now I had to figure out how to live a life that had been given back to me, mostly by an unfaithful wife, a cheating adulteress. I think you should see a doctor, Paul, Gwen said to me one evening while we were lying in bed. She was making sexual advances again, and once more, I resisted. I just couldn't feel any sexual interest in her. For the past 6 months, I've done nothing but see doctors, Gwen, I replied. I really don't want to see another one. Besides, I've healed pretty well. I was thinking more along the lines of a psychiatrist, she said. You have to admit you're not the same as you were before the accident, and I'm worried about you. It might be something psychological, and a doctor could help. Truthfully, I've been thinking along the same lines. Maybe a therapist could tell me what the hell I was supposed to do to get myself sorted out. I needed someone to set me straight, someone who could tell me what to do about Gwen and her cheating ass. All right, Gwen. If you arrange it, I'll go, I said calmly. Maybe it's not such a bad idea. Really? I didn't think you'd agree, Paul. I memorized a whole set of arguments to convince you, Gwen admitted. Can I ask why you accepted my suggestion so quickly? Of course you can ask, I replied, turning my back to her. It's because I'm completely screwed. Good night. On Tuesday after work, we met in Dr. Master's office. She was a fairly attractive woman, about my age. She was dressed neatly, but conservatively, just the way someone in her profession was supposed to look. "If you have kids, they're probably good ones," I said as we shook hands. "Why would you say that, Mr. Hadley?" she asked. "I've always been told that two masters won't produce anything bad, Doctor," I replied bluntly. Her eyes sparkled as she tried to keep a straight face. I just looked at her until she finally broke into a broad smile. "I'm the one who's supposed to help you relax and feel comfortable, Mr. Hadley," she laughed. "Not the other way around." Then we spent 10 minutes on the usual predictable small talk. By the end of it, I was calling her Doc, and she was calling me Paul. "Paul, I see in my notes that your wife scheduled this appointment for you. She told my receptionist that you were in a serious accident about 6 months ago. She essentially donated a kidney to save your life. She also said that your recovery seems to be going well, with one exception. You've lost all interest in sex." "Is that accurate, Paul?" the head shrinker asked. "Here's what I'll tell you, Doc. Take off your clothes and lie down on that couch, and we'll both find out just how interested I am," I replied, a bit irritated. I was irritated that Gwen had told the receptionist so much, and that all the blame was being pinned on me. Gwen could have run an ad in the newspaper and still been more discreet. Dr. Masters gave me a long, assessing look, clearly studying my temperament. "Are you saying that you are interested in sex, Paul?" she asked. "I'm going to decline your invitation, for reasons I'm sure are obvious to you. But why does your wife feel that you've lost interest, when you believe that's not the case?" "Well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that she's a cheater," I replied flatly. "I just don't feel particularly attracted to an adulteress who puts herself on display for half the town. Does that make me sick or crazy?" "We don't use that kind of language here, Paul. Why do you believe your wife is an adulteress, as you put it, that she's been unfaithful to you? She must care about you if she went so far as to schedule this appointment, don't you think?" Now we're getting to the key point. That's exactly the problem. She's been incredibly kind to me. She gave me a damn kidney. Pardon my language, document. But do you understand my dilemma? I asked. You feel that your wife is cheating on you, yet she's willing to make an incredible sacrifice for you. Is that what you're saying, Paul? The doctor asked. Let me put it simply, Doc, I replied. She's sleeping with her coworker. I saw her with him the day I had my accident. I was ready to toss her cheating backside to the curb, but then I got distracted and blindsided by some hormone-crazed idiot in his daddy's SUV. So, you're certain your wife is having an affair, and that's why you've lost interest in being intimate with her? Is there any chance your suspicions are a result of the accident? Could it be possible that what you saw wasn't what you think you saw, Paul? Isn't it possible you may have jumped to conclusions? She asked. Let's say you saw your spouse meet someone at a cheap motel, kiss them long and hard, walk hand in hand into room 108, and you saw that other person run their hands over your spouse's body just as the curtains were being closed. Then you watch the room for an hour while they stay inside. Finally, they come out, walk to their cars, kiss again, and drive off. Would you naturally assume they just had a hell of a Scrabble match, or would you think they were going at it like rabbits? I demanded. The doctor looked momentarily rattled, processing what I'd just told her. But she quickly composed herself and moved forward. Have you discussed this with your wife? Does she know what you saw, and has she had a chance to explain her actions? You need to talk it through with her if you ever hope to move past this, Paul, she said firmly. Here's the problem, document. It's not easy for me to bring this up, I admitted. On the other hand, she's the one who should be confessing and begging for forgiveness before our marriage even has a chance of surviving. She needs to explain everything, the reasons why, how many times they met, how long it went on, how many men she's slept with while we've been married, and convince me she's ended it all and will never try anything like that again. If I have to force her to confess, then it's not worth a pinch of pig crap. I'm telling you, convince me, Doc, I added quickly. That's a lot harder than saying it out loud. I need to be convinced, and honestly, I doubt she can do that, even if she wanted to, I concluded. It sounds like you've already given this a lot of thought, Paul, Dr. Masters replied. What were you hoping to gain by coming to see me? I want you to tell me that I'm wrong for feeling betrayed. Am I not right to refuse to make love to a woman who's been sleeping with some pathetic jerk behind my back? Am I wrong to give her a chance to explain? How long am I supposed to wait before I throw her out? Will I be seen as cruel and guilty if I divorce her, even after she gave up a kidney to save my life? Am I just supposed to accept being a cuckold and let her have lovers? What if I can't even look at myself in the mirror? How the hell am I supposed to keep going? I demanded. How am I supposed to find any meaning in my life? The answers to all those questions are within you, Paul. I can't give them to you, she replied. I think you know that. But I can tell you this, you need to resolve this conflict in your life, or it will destroy you, and your marriage as well. We should meet every week and work through it together, she told me. Sure, document. My insurance covers it. You'll keep all this confidential, right? I asked. My wife's going to ask what the hell's wrong with me. Of course, Paul, she replied. I think it might be helpful if your wife met with me separately. As is often the case, this isn't a problem that was created, or can be solved, by just one partner. Well, Doc, that's up to her. Maybe she can take a break from screwing that bastard long enough to drop by, especially if it means her spineless husband's footing the bill and still expected to have sex now and then. Let me tell you something, Doc, I added. If you so much as hint to Gwen that I know she's sleeping with at least one guy behind my back, this marriage is over. And I'll make damn sure you don't get paid. Whatever goddamn licensing board gave you your credentials will be reviewing your file while you're waiting tables at some greasy diner the next time I see you. Paul, do you think you've scared me? The shrink asked confidently. Not sure, Doc, but I had to let you know exactly how I feel about this. And if you can't give me the answers, you sure as hell can't give them to her. I saw Dr. Masters only a couple more times. It seemed like we always reached the same place, and then everything just stalled. She didn't tell me what I should do, and I never told Gwen that I didn't like the fact she was sleeping with other men. If you have to say that to your wife, then there's really no reason to keep her around. One evening, about a week or so after I stopped seeing the doc, I was in the shower, enjoying the warm water running down over my scars. I started fantasizing about the pretty doctor, and what it might be like to lay her down on that little therapy couch. Next thing I knew, I had a fairly respectable situation going on downstairs. Being a man, I gave the little guy a few appreciative strokes, and, well, he stood even straighter. Let me take care of that for you, Paul, Gwen whispered behind me. I nearly fell over. I was startled, and when I turned around, I saw her, naked, in the shower with me. I hadn't heard her come in, and she hadn't joined me in the shower in years. It's okay, Gwen. I was just daydreaming, and he decided he wanted to play, I said quickly, pulling my hand away. Then let me play with him, Paul. He wants it, and so do I, majority rules. She laughed at I, and the few seconds it took Gwen to speak, he had already started to fade that I stepped out of the shower and wrapped a towel around my waist. Why are you so cold to me, Paul? Gwen asked. I thought seeing the psychiatrist would help you deal with this. But if anything, you've gotten worse. What are you talking about, Gwen? You're the one acting differently, not me. When was the last time you took a shower with me? Before the accident, when did you ever try to initiate sex with me? You never did. You always acted like you'd be happier just being left alone, I said firmly. How can you say that, Paul? Gwen asked. I never denied you sex. That's complete nonsense, and you know it. There were plenty of nights when you were too tired, had an upset stomach, or the all-time favorite, a headache, I shot back. Just give me one reason, or several, why you've suddenly decided you want sex, and why I'm suddenly the bad guy for not feeling the same. Did I ever try to make you feel guilty for the countless times you turned me down cold? I wouldn't say I turned you down coldly, Paul. I was just tired or overworked. I didn't realize it meant that much to you at the time. You should have told me, Gwen reasoned. If I had known how important it was to you, I would have been more than happy to let you make love to me. Bingo! I nearly shouted. You would have let me make love to you, like it was some kind of chore for you, and some extraordinary privilege for me. And you wonder why I'm not dying to jump on you right now, Gwen. I wasn't about to beg for pity sex back then, and I'm not in the mood to hand it out now. Once upon a time, sex was something we both wanted. But over the last few years, you've killed that idea. So why are you suddenly so eager for sex lately, Gwen? Why? I just want to feel loved, Paul. You were in so much pain, I was afraid I'd never feel you in my arms again, Gwen exclaimed. I kept thinking about what a good husband and father you've been all these years. The thought of losing you terrified me. I want to love you and be loved by you. I want you to feel my love and understand how much you mean to me. So, my near-death experience suddenly made you see the light, and now you want to have hot, primal sex every day just to make up for ignoring me for the last 5 years or so. Is that it? I demanded. I wasn't ignoring you, Paul. I just wasn't as loving and warm as I now realize I should have been. I promised myself that if you survived, I'd make things right, Gwen exclaimed. I never thought you'd resist me like this. You always used to want sex. Why are you so cold toward me, Paul? Why are you like this? Does having sex with someone prove that you love them, Gwen? I asked quietly. Is that what you're saying? That if we have sex, you'll be showing me that you love me, and you'll know that I love you? Is sex the same thing as love, Gwen? Do you believe that when you have sex with someone, it means you love them, and they love you? If I have sex with you, does that mean you love me, and I love you? No, Paul. Sex doesn't prove anything. I want you to love me and make love to me. We've been husband and wife for almost 24 years. A husband makes love to his wife. He doesn't just have sex with her, Paul, Gwen replied. You know that. I'm a little confused, Gwen. If a husband makes love to his wife, then who's the one who just has sex with her? What does a wife do if she just wants some good old-fashioned sex? Who does she turn to then? I demanded. Gwen sobbed and ran into our bedroom. For some reason, I felt better than I had in a long time. I think it was because I had finally asked Gwen some pointed questions and let her draw her own conclusions. One thing was absolutely clear, I wasn't going to settle for Ben Poole's leftovers. Why does any woman think her husband can accept being second fiddle? Of course a guy won't mind hooking up with a married woman, it's free sex. No promises, no responsibility, no strings attached. It's just sex that some other poor bastard pays for, emotionally and financially. And I just didn't want to keep paying that bill anymore. I headed straight for the spare bedroom, dropped the towel from around my waist, and crawled under the sheets. Within minutes, I was asleep. I woke early the next morning to feel Gwen's naked body next to me. Her hand was holding me. For a moment, I thought about her renewed interest in my little guy, before sleep took me again. I woke up and saw that the sun had already risen. It would soon be time to start the day. I looked over at Gwen and saw that she was watching me. Paul, I'm so sorry I haven't been the understanding and loving wife you deserve, she began. I see now that I've been selfish and cold. I just want to make things right and be a better wife and lover from now on. Will you let me do that? Gwen, it's not always that simple. I carry one of your kidneys inside me, and I truly am grateful for what you sacrificed for me, I replied. But why did you give me your kidney, Gwen? I'm still trying to make sense of that. Paul. I did it because you're my husband. I love you and wanted to help you. That I did it because I know you would have done anything for me. I know you would have. That's the kind of man and husband you are. Gwen looked shocked by my question. How can you even ask me that? Now I owe you, Gwen. It hangs over me. Was it really love, or was it something else that made you do it? I asked quietly. It was love and guilt, Paul. Gwen sobbed. I feel so terrible. You have no idea how much I've been hurting since that day. Paul, I had an affair. I'm so ashamed of it. I was seeing a guy and had sex with him 4 times. The last time was the very day you had your accident. Gwen broke down and cried for several minutes. My heart ached for her, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. Eventually, she pulled herself together and continued her confession. I've been consumed with guilt, Paul. You were a wonderful, understanding husband, and a gentle lover. I never realized there was even another type until I got involved with that other guy. He was rough and demanding. I thought I could make him into a tender lover, but I quickly realized all he wanted was to use me however he pleased. He didn't care what I felt or what I wanted. We argued all 4 times we were together. He called me names, said I was a frigid bitch because I didn't want to do what he wanted. Paul, I realized that everything I should have been doing, all the things I held back, I should have been doing with you and for you, not for some pathetic jerk who looked at me like I was nothing more than a piece of meat, Gwen said, quietly choking back tears. I stoically listened as my wife of 23 years confessed to her infidelity. Just hearing her admit it, hearing how badly she had treated me, oddly made me feel a little better. I waited for her to continue. The last time I was with him was the worst, she said. We argued. I didn't want to do what he wanted, and he called me names, but only after he took me, rough and without care. Then he insisted I do something to excite him again. You know I never really do much to turn you on, that I've always just let you take the lead, and then I'd enjoy it, if I happened to be in the mood. I know that was wrong, Paul. I realized it when that bastard kept degrading me, calling me a dirty liar and a stuck-up prude. I pretended I'd see him again and promised to do whatever he wanted next time, just so he'd let me go, Gwen confessed. I even kissed him goodbye in the parking lot. He really scared me. I was afraid and just wanted to get away from him. He was the only man I'd ever been with besides you, and believe me, Paul, I learned my lesson. And then I got the call, they told me you were in the hospital and might die. Imagine the guilt and fear I felt, Paul. I had made a mistake, and I knew it, that I insisted they test me to see if I could donate a kidney to you. It felt like my chance to make things right, to redeem myself, to cleanse my soul, but even that was selfish. I know that. I had to do it to feel like I deserved a second chance with the best man I've ever known, Gwen sobbed. It was more for me than for you. Why are you telling me this now, Gwen? I asked. You've kept it inside for so long. Why now? Last night, I realized I was losing you, Paul, that I was losing you, and somehow I knew it was because of my infidelity. That if I had any chance of keeping you, I had to tell you everything and let you decide that if you want to divorce me, I'll understand that I didn't give you my kidney to guilt you into staying with me if you don't want me anymore. That I love you too much to do that. That I gave it to you freely and with love, as a small payment for the wonderful life you've given me up to now. That no strings attached. That I made a terrible mistake. It's up to you to decide what you want to do, Gwen concluded. Have you stopped seeing the other man? I asked. I swear, I haven't been alone with him since that day. And even if you divorce me, I will never be with him again. That he asked to sleep with me again, but I made it clear, it will never happen. That was news to me. That jerk still wanted to get his hands on my wife after she'd ended it, not exactly gentlemanly, but fortunately, the solution was fairly simple. That I reached over and picked up the phone on the nightstand. That I dialed the 7 digits I had memorized and waited. That I watched as Gwen tried to guess my intention, but it was clear she had no idea. Hello, Mrs. Poole. This is Paul Hadley. I'm doing well, thank you. That I'm calling to ask you to kindly tell your husband to stop bothering my wife. She has no intention of sleeping with him again, and if he keeps pushing, I may have to resort to violence. That I'm still a bit weak, but let him know my finger on a trigger works just fine. Pass that along to him, would you? Goodbye. Gwen was stunned, her face turned red, and her lips and hands were trembling that it took her a few seconds to find her voice. You knew about him? No wonder you haven't been interested in me. How did you find out, and when? I saw you at the motel. Room 108. On the day of the accident that I was on my way home to throw you out when that damn kid hit me. If he'd obeyed the speed limit, we'd probably already be divorced by now. I admitted. I'm so sorry, Paul. I deserve whatever you decide. That I can't imagine how hard this must have been for you. When you needed me the most, I only made things worse. I'm such a pathetic excuse for a person. I'll pack my things and be gone by noon, Paul. I never meant to hurt you, but that's exactly what I did. You deserve so much more than what I've given you. I'm ashamed, truly ashamed. I'll start packing right now, Gwen said gloomily. Gwen, if I let you stay, do you think you'd want to be more proactive with me, sexually? I asked. Paul, if you stay my husband, I'll pleasure you at the mall if that's what you want. I swear, I'd be the best lover you've ever imagined, but only for you. I'll do anything, Paul, Gwen promised through tears. Put in your 2 weeks' notice at work today, Gwen. I don't want you in the same building as that pathetic piece of trash, otherwise, I'll end up in jail. Start looking for a new job immediately. Part-time is fine. You might need the extra time to figure out how to make all of this work for me. That I'm not thrilled about any of it, but I'm carrying your kidney, and you apparently still have my heart. Damn it, I said, frustrated. We'll work on the rest, but I've got to admit, that mall offer is starting to sound pretty tempting. That day, I was late for work because Gwen cried and clung to me for too long. I still don't know if I did the right thing, but most of the time, I feel pretty good about it. You can't imagine how deeply indebted you feel to someone who saved your life. Still, it took me a long time to fully forgive Gwen. Now, she really does satisfy me sexually, and in every other way, she's always been a wonderful wife. That I just wonder why we have to crawl through so much crap in life before we finally reach a place where we can be happy. Thank you for being with us. And if you're one of those who watches silently, just leave a like. It helps new stories come to light.